Hey everyone, वेलकम टू माय चैनल फीलियर जितेश। मैं आज आप लोगों के लिए पॉलिटी के लेक्चर्स बहुत ही एक फेमस कोचिंग के अपलोड कर रहा हूँ। प्लीज़ कोई स्ट्राइक कोई कंप्लेन मत कीजिएगा, ये सिर्फ उन लोगों के लिए हैं जो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हैं। मैं पहले ही माफ़ी मांग रहा हूँ, बाद में आप लोग ये मत कहिएगा कि आप चोरी कर रहे हो, ऐसा कर रहे हो, वैसा करो। देखिए, मेरे को भी कहीं से मिले तो मुझे लगा कि उन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए डाल दिए जाएँ जो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते। मैं भी उनमें से ही हूँ एक। मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप लोग इसका भरपूर इस्तेमाल करें, अच्छे से पढ़ें। दीज आर दी बेस्ट लेक्चर्स एंड मैं भी इससे पढ़ रहा हूँ, आप लोग भी इससे पढ़ो। एंड कोशिश करूँगा जल्द से जल्द सारे लेक्चर्स डाल दूँ। तो प्लीज़ अच्छे से पढ़िए। अब सही समय है सही से तैयारी करने का, तो अच्छे से तैयारी करिए। चलिए, आई होप यू विल लव दी लेक्चर्स। प्लीज़ लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल।
with minimum side effects, okay, if there at all. See, today is the first day and I'll be taking polity, so I'll be talking about only polity, not about history, geography and all these things, right? How many of you are coming here for the very first time for coaching, civil services? And do not be shy, do not think that when I give an answer, when I give a feedback, people will laugh at me, okay? Anybody can laugh at anyone, so do not be afraid, because unless you open out, you will not learn, okay? Sir, first time coaching? Yeah. Okay. And how many of you are afraid of polity? बोल दो यार, टेंशन की बात नहीं है, बोलो. Actually, you are afraid of polity. How many of you? Only these many people? Fine. The rest are comfortable? Good. See, let me tell you a few things before I start. Polity is an extremely important section of this examination. GS paper 1. In prelims, I'm talking about. Okay. It's not important because I am taking polity. It's important because number of questions which come in pre from polity, they are huge. 2012, they asked about 25 questions from polity only. How many questions are asked? 100 questions. Out of 100 questions, if they are asking 25 questions only from polity, then it's a big thing or not? Then sometime they will ask you 12 questions, minimum 12, 13 questions, maximum they can go to 20 and 25 also. Okay. So focus on this area very much. Yes. Volume high hai, kam hai? Increase the volume, please. बढ़ा दिया? Am I audible now? Audible ना? Okay. See, let me tell you a few things that these things are not to be done because these are the common myths in polity. इसे नहीं करना है, right? First thing, articles in polity. You know articles? Means generally people believe that when you are doing polity, you have to first mug up all the articles. सारे articles रट लो in constitution. Some people by PM Bakshi, they start mugging up the articles. Do not do that. Because if you start doing that, you will just end up mugging all the facts, all the articles, and the remaining things will be left. ये नहीं करना है. In fact, you need not even mug up any article. When we discuss the things in class, automatically it will get committed to your memory. वो अपने आप याद हो जाएगा. All you need to do is this. Be very, very clear on your concepts. Concepts clear होने चाहिए. Because if you see the previous year papers of UPSC, prelims I'm talking about today only, okay? If you see the previous papers, they try or they ask you how you can apply the concepts. They will give you a question, a statement, then they will give you 5-6 statements. You have to apply what you have learned. They will not ask you, generally they will not ask you, write about this article. What is this article? When we got independence? On what day the constitution got enforced? Is tarah ke question. These kind of questions are generally not asked. They ask you to apply what you have learned in the class. जो समझा है आपने उसको apply करना है, right? But then see, you cannot apply things unless you know the things, unless you remember the things. So remembering the facts is also important. For example, if I ask you what is Article 15, you must know. If I ask you what is Article 17, you must know. तभी तो अप्लाई कर पाओगे ना उसको. But then need not mug up each and every fact in polity. ये नहीं करना है. Agreed? And this exam is a combination of two things: facts plus concepts. दोनों को साथ में लेके चलना. See, I have myself seen that there are two kinds of people. One say, I cannot mug up the facts, sir. I can analyze the things very well, but I cannot mug up. Okay, they feel that it's very proud thing to say that I cannot mug up. Few people say, I can mug up anything, but I cannot apply when it comes in the question in the examination. Both have to work upon their style. Okay, sir? You have to mug up the things which are done in the classes and then apply the things on paper also. How can you apply what you have learned in the class? But you are coming here, you are learning something, and let me tell you, even if you mug up everything which is done in the class, you may not be in a position to answer the question in the UPSC. वो भी होगा. You know all the facts, but still you are not in a position to answer. What can be done for this thing? Practice. Polity is like practice. Practice, practice, practice. Whatever is done in the class, revise that thing on very day itself. कल के लिए मत छोड़ना. It should not be that you go home, you relax and you forget. Facebook पे reply भी तो करना है. No. Mug up the things that day only. Then take at least 10 questions, maybe from previous year papers, and practice them. See whether you can apply the things which you learned in the class or not. उसको use भी कर पा रहे हो कि नहीं कर पा रहे हो? Knowing how to drive is a different thing, but then driving the car itself is a completely different thing or not? You need to learn both. दोनों समझना पड़ेगा. Am I clear on this? Any question? Right. See, I start with the basic. Well, my name is Ashish Kumar. Okay. I'll be taking your polity and governance. What is this? अंडे हैं ये अंडे. Okay. If these are the eggs, there has to be somebody else also. Who? Hen. I learned drawing from MF Hussain, so I think you can appreciate that. Hen lag rahi hai na ye? Though I tried making it duck. But anyways, if these are the eggs, eggs means Representation of People's Act, Citizenship Act, Hindu Marriage Act, Special Marriage Act, Armed Forces Special Power Act, Motor Vehicle Act. These are all act का मतलब क्या है? What is? I am using the word act again and again. What is the meaning of act? Act is a law. Law है ना act अपने आप में. If all these are different laws which prevail in this country, sir, what this hen is? Simple as that. बहुत बढ़िया. Constitution. Remember that any law which prevails in this country, any law for that matter, which prevails in this country is existing because there is a mother law. Mother law. Mother law means a bigger law, the biggest law, which has given birth to all these laws. There is a mother law which has given birth to all the different laws in this country, and that mother law, that biggest law, is called as Constitution. Any law. But then see, some of you who have some knowledge of law or polity, they can ask me, there were some laws which came, means there were some eggs which came even before these hens. This hen, कौन सा है वो अंडा जो मुर्गी से भी पहले आ गया? कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट और कुछ IPC, Indian Evidence Act, they came much before Constitution came into force. Agreed or not? I take one example only. Indian Evidence Act. Indian Evidence Act किसने बनाया था? अंग्रेज. Britishers made Indian Evidence Act. But then am I right when I say that this Constitution has given birth to all the laws in this country? Why Indian Evidence Act was not made by the Indian Constitution? Right or wrong? Even if Indian Evidence Act was not made precisely by Indian Constituent Assembly, it was validated by the Constituent Assembly. Means Indian Evidence Act, or for that matter any law which prevailed before Constitution of India was made, was accepted, validated by the Constituent Assembly. कि ठीक है, बाकी law हम बनाएंगे, we'll make new laws, but we will continue with the previous laws which were good. For example, Indian Evidence Act, Indian Penal Code, ये तब से चले आ रहे हैं. But they are there not because they were made by Britishers. They are still there because Constitution has accepted them. Constitution ने उसको अपना लिया है, and we are still using them. Okay. Now see, let me tell you, I'll keep on revising the same thing again and again in different classes. So if you miss now, you can catch up later. But then do not try to be lax. Okay? Because every time I'll use the same concept in a different style. So be attentive, and when I ask question, do not get intimidated. डरने की जरूरत नहीं है कि what will others say. Try to give answer whatever you know. जो पता है answer do. Now in one of the mains UPSC, they asked the question, what is constitution? ये question आ गया था UPSC के अंदर mains में. Now that seems very simple, very easy. Constitution हम सब लिख सकते हैं. I can tell you and I can bet 99% people will find it difficult to write 4 lines on what is constitution. है कि नहीं है? Because we do not have to write in a very laymanish term. Some technical terms are to be used. I do not say that become overly technical, but then few technical terms are to be used because they are used that way only universally. उनको हमें छोड़ना नहीं है, लिखना है. Okay. Write down what is constitution. And when you write, please read every word. Do not just write mechanically. समझ के लिखना. ठीक है? What is constitution? Constitution is the heading is constitution. Okay, constitution is the fundamental and the organic law of a nation. Please double underline the word fundamental and organic. Sir, what is the meaning of this fundamental? Fundamental law. I said constitution is a fundamental law. मैंने ये बात बोली है, अभी आपने लिखा है. I said constitution is a fundamental law. बोलो sir, what is the meaning of this? मुर्गी. अभी बताया था ना. It is most important and it is the constitution which has given birth to all other laws. Fundamental means basic, जो सबसे पहले आया. Okay. And what is the meaning of organic law? If I say that constitution is an organic law, मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि constitution एक organic law है. What is the meaning of this? हाँ जी. I say constitution is organic law. What is the meaning without getting fearful answer? बोलो. English में what is the meaning of organic? Literal meaning of organic. Organic is something which can grow, which is kind of living. है कि नहीं है? So here I am saying constitution is organic. इसका मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of this? Constitution can change with time. Don't we change with time? Yes. We keep growing with time. Don't we adapt with time? Similarly, Constitution of India adapt with time. When time changes, Constitution will also change. Am I right or wrong? And how can we allow the organic nature of Indian Constitution to prevail? You understood what is the meaning of organic nature? What is the meaning? Yes, which can respond to the changes in the society. It can change. It is not static. वो मरा हुआ deadwood नहीं है. Okay. What is the provision by which we can ensure that Constitution remains organic? Amendment. बहुत बढ़िया. By we amend the constitution, how many times we have amended the constitution till now? 100. Very good. Very bright class. Okay, maintain this tempo. Organic law of the nation, comma, that establishes, because that establishes the conception conceive, from the word conceive we have drawn this word conception, okay, that establishes the conception, comma, character. Read every word which you are writing, it is in your favor. That establishes the conception, comma, character and the organization of the government. What is the meaning of these three words? Conception, character and organization. इसका मतलब क्या है? Sir, बोलो. Conception, what is the meaning of conception? Exactly. How the government is formed, the process is given in the constitution or not? बिल्कुल उसमें दिया हुआ है. So conception of the government is given in the constitution, means how we will form the government. Who will tell you? Constitution. Conception के बाद the second word is character. What is the meaning of character here? Very good. What will be the nature of Indian state? Who will tell you? Constitution. Any example to unitary, federal, though we did not use this word federal in the constitution, but still secular character, socialist character, sovereign character, republic character, these words are mentioned in the constitution. India is a secular country. We came to know because constitution uses this word explicitly. Constitution में साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है. India is a socialist country. From where did we know this? Constitution, preamble is a part of constitution only. Right or wrong? So what is the nature of Indian state is defined by constitution. Third thing, third word, organization. What is the meaning, sir? Structure of the government. Government means state here. Organization of the state, let me tell you. I will not go into the technicality of this thing, just to give you the concept. I am discussing this thing now. Suppose I say that state is legislature, executive, and third thing, I am discussing this in the first class because I see that many people, they cover the whole course, but they are not clear what is the meaning of executive. So I am discussing this. Okay. Judiciary you know or not? भाई judiciary तो पता है ना आपको? Supreme Court, High Court, this court, that court and other bodies which give you justice. Okay. So I will not discuss these things. These two things are critical. Legislature क्या है और executive क्या है? Sir, what is the meaning of this executive? कौन सी body होती है? What is the function of legislature? To frame the law. Keep writing what you feel is important for you. Okay, because every word may not be dictated. तो जो आपके अंडरस्टैंडिंग को इंप्रूव करे, राइट दैट. ओके, लेजिस्लेचर का काम क्या है? टू मेक द लॉज. व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव? टू इंप्लीमेंट द लॉज मेड बाय द लेजिस्लेचर. ये सबको पता है, एवरीबडी नोज दिस. ओके, टेल मी व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव. मतलब भी तो पता होना चाहिए ना. वी शुड नो द मीनिंग ऑल्सो. विक्टिम को मैं ढूंढता हूं खुद. बोलो सर, आप बताओ, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव? व्हाट यू अंडरस्टैंड बाय दिस वर्ड एग्जीक्यूटिव? ये तो ठीक है, आई एग्री विद दिस थिंग दैट द बॉडी विच इंप्लीमेंट्स द लॉ इज एग्जीक्यूटिव. वेरी गुड. But then is PM different from Council of Minister or is a part of Council of Minister? बहुत बढ़िया. See, for the people who are very new to this, I am discussing this, so be very attentive now. I am discussing the union legislature. Union legislature है क्या? Or who are the people who form union legislature? We had general elections. Elections हुए. Who came into power? उन्हें क्या बोलते हैं? What is the word used for them? MP. I am discussing the union government. ठीक है? Member of parliaments. They will sit either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. All these MPs sitting in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha combined together will be called as legislature, because their work is to make laws. ये आपको पता है. Now there will be some MPs in the Lok Sabha who will be from the ruling party. Be very relaxed, because some people are sitting very tensed. Tension लेने की कोई जरूरत नहीं. If you don't understand, you ask me, I'll repeat again. Okay? You know that some MPs in Lok Sabha, they are from the ruling party. Will you not have some MPs from opposition party also? Right? They did not come in majority, but of course they got some seats. Ruling party plus opposition party MLAs can sit in Lok Sabha. Same case is with Rajya Sabha also. ये clear है. All the MPs together, Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha, they will be called as legislature. ये लोग law बनाते हैं मिलके. This is clear. From where we will get executive now? We'll have different elections for executive. अलग से elections होगा ना उनके लिए? नहीं होगा. Out of these MPs only, few people who will be part of Council of Minister. By Prime Minister to Council of Minister, Prime Minister will anyhow be part of Council of Minister. Apart from that, the people who are given some portfolios, for example, they are given some ministry, they are made some minister, whether union minister, deputy minister or minister of state. एक minister लग जाना चाहिए आपके साथ में. Then you become part of Council of Minister. And this Council of Minister is nothing but executive. Let me repeat. Legislature was clear. Then you know one person who will be the Prime Minister of this country. Okay. For example, one party came to power. Congress came to power. They said we will nominate Sonia Gandhi to be the Prime Minister of this country. Congress party ne bola, right? Then Sonia Gandhi, from amongst these people only, she will pick up her ministers. And all these ministers combined will be called as Council of Minister, which is nothing but executive. Am I clear on this? Can there be a minister who is not member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? ऐसा भी तो minister हो सकता है क्या? Initially, you can pick somebody who is not part of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, but within 6 months, he has to have a seat in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. That's a different thing. We'll discuss that later on. Okay. I just want to give you the basic concept. Am I clear on this? Executive क्या है? This is done. And बोलो sir. What? That is a different thing. वो permanent executive है. No, I don't want to complicate the discussion on the first day itself. Temporary executive. Temporary. है वो executive but temporary बोलेंगे उसको. Okay. और elected executive. Not permanent. ठीक है sir? हाँ जी. Technically, yes. Okay. Slowly I'll come to those things also. So technically he is, but here my purpose was to discuss what is the meaning of Council of Ministers. They are implementing, that is an implementing body. Okay. And let me tell you this thing also. Council of Minister. All the ministers can be given 3 ranks. Minister 3 तरह के होते हैं. Ministers, any minister can be of 3 category. First category, sir. Plus Minister of States. You know this thing very well. One example of MOS. VK Singh, the former army chief. उनको हमने क्या रैंक दिया है? Though he is a very powerful person, but then he got the rank of. But then he is independently handling the one department or not completely. Anyways, that's a different thing. Third category of minister. अच्छा, give me one example of cabinet minister also. हाँ जी. कोई अच्छा एग्जाम्पल दे देते यार. Smriti Irani, Rajnath Singh, they are member of cabinet. Okay. Third category of minister. Do not shy when I ask you question and you don't know. Okay. Third, deputy minister. Very good. Any minister in this country will either be cabinet minister, minister of state or deputy minister. Cabinet ministers senior most. सबसे ज़्यादा इज्जत इनकी होती है. Second number minister of state. Third is deputy minister. Is this clear? So I clarified what is the meaning of legislature, what is the meaning of executive, judiciary, you know. Now this COM is nothing but from where we pulled out this COM. हाँ जी, last sir, corner में जो छुपे बैठे बोलो. COM कहाँ से निकाला हमने? From where we got this COM? लोकसभा और राज्यसभा. Both means we got this COM from Parliament of this country. And what is the other name given to the Parliament? Legislature. In India, this executive has come out from legislature only. Means executive is part of legislature. सर सही है ना? बोलो सर. यार नाम कोई भी ले लो, उनको कोई पूछता भी नहीं है. ओके. Least important. Their work is not to actually manage a department. Their work is to assist them. Okay. But then he can take a whole independent department. For example, Prakash Javadekar, he was MOS before somebody else was given textile ministry. है कि नहीं है? So अब Prakash Javadekar was Minister of State. He got elevated to cabinet. Is it clear? ठीक है सर. But then these are the least important minister. इनको मानते भी हम कम ही है minister, but they are minister, right? Executive is, पहले ये बात सुन लो, मेरा मैसेज वो अधूरा रहेगा नहीं. What is the meaning of legislature? Parliament. Parliament is equal to, sir, ये clear है? From this legislature only few people became ministers, and all the ministers combined together is called as Council of Ministers, which can also be called as this is the structure of Indian parliamentary system. I'll repeat that again, do not worry. Okay, but then basics were to be told, which I told you. We are discussing the constitution, right? What is the last line you wrote? Organization of the government. Ek second. See, this is the organization of government in this country. There will be a legislature. From that legislature only will form Council of Ministers, who will be called as executive. From where did you come to know this structure? कहाँ से मालूम पड़ा आपको that this is constitution? Because constitution tells you that we have a parliamentary system of government. This system is called as parliamentary system. There can be another system which is called as presidential. In presidential system, legislature and executive will be two separate bodies. यहाँ तो common है ना? भाई राजनाथ सिंह is the member of executive also, and he, because of COM के member है, and he is also member of legislature. But then in presidential system, like America, legislature, the people sitting in the legislature, they are different from executive. वहाँ ऐसा नहीं है. So what I mean to tell you is that what is the structure of Indian state government? You came to know that this is the structure of Indian state from where? Constitution. ये भी purpose है constitution. Am I clear on this? Next line. Constitution is the supreme law of land. Please read every word, very, very important. Constitution is the supreme law of land and all other laws and customs. Constitution is the supreme means most important law of land and all other laws and customs in order to be valid. Sir? Constitution is the supreme law of land and all other laws and customs in order to be valid shall conform to the Constitution. Only those it means that only those customs will prevail in this country which confirm. See, increase your writing speed. Okay, I'm going very slow. Day after day speed बढ़ जाएगी. So increase your writing speed also. Every law which is prevailing in this country is prevailing because somehow it tallies with the constitution. ठीक है? Any custom or any law which does not tally with the constitution will be scrapped. You know this. Sir, give me one example of a custom which did not tally with the constitution. So we repealed it. हाँ जी? Sati system, child marriage, or untouchability. By untouchability was a practice which was against the dignified life of somebody. Untouchability was a custom in India or not? Sir, पता ही है आपको? It was a regular feature, custom which was practiced not only by people from higher caste but by lower caste also. Untouchability was a very common custom in country. We removed it, we banned it because untouchability custom did not conform to the values of Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution said everybody should have a chance to have a dignified life, but then this custom was taking away this chance. So we took away this custom. Custom को ही ban कर दिया हमने. Somebody said sati, precisely. Child marriage. हाँ देवदासी बिल्कुल. Child marriage. Child marriage is actually a kind of exploitation or not? Is exploitation of human allowed in Indian Constitution? No. So we banned it. Okay. Next thing. Constitution has a special legal sanctity. Constitution has a special legal sanctity. Sanctity means something which is holy, sacred, okay, divine. उसको sanctity बोलते हैं ना. आपने वेद पढ़े ना? You must have read Vedas. पढ़े? No. Okay. Do not say yes to everything. वेद तो पढ़े नहीं है आपने. But then you must have read this thing that Vedas are considered divine. In fact, when you read history, you will come to know about this line that Vedas have got special sanctity. Vedon की special sanctity है. What is the reason that Vedas are considered sacred, sacrosanct, or they have special sanctity? क्या कारण है? There is one big reason. It's not that it is agreed scientifically Vedas are very good, but then there is another reason we call Vedas as sacrosanct or divine. एक reason है उसके पीछे. Oldest also, and one more. Universally it is believed. Moreover, universally it is also believed that Vedas were written by whom? God. ऐसा माना जाता है. Okay, I am not saying this is right or wrong. I am not going to that discussion. It is believed that Vedas were written by God himself. भगवान ने लिखा था उनको. So we consider Vedas as the most sacred book in Indian society. ये आपको पता है. Similarly, Constitution has got such an important place in Indian polity. We called it sacrosanct. Why am I comparing Constitution with Vedas? Tell me. Vedas were written by God, so they become sacrosanct, they became sacred. God was whom? Powerful. God कौन है? Most powerful element. Now when I take this analogy in terms of Indian polity, who is the most powerful entity in Indian polity? That side also. Bolo sir. Which is the most powerful entity in Indian political system? Most powerful. Citizens. Theoretically, citizens are most powerful or not? Hey, you know this. And citizens also wrote one thing. What was that? एक book citizens ने भी लिखी थी. कौन सी थी? बोलो यार जल्दी बोलो. बोलो sir. Constitution. What else? Constitution was written by citizens of this country or not? You know this. Actually, it was the representatives of these citizens who were part of Constituent Assembly who wrote the Constitution. But then belief is that it was the citizenry of this country who wrote this Constitution. And who is the most powerful entity in Indian political scenario? Citizens. Ultimately, they are the most powerful people. Means somebody who is most powerful person in this system, he is writing something. Will that something not get special status? So did Indian Constitution. समझ रहे हो मेरी बात को? As sacred the Vedas are, so sacred is the Constitution. Because it is written by somebody who is most powerful in this democratic system, and that somebody is citizen. Remember this. See, in prelims also, they will put you in dilemma. They will ask you who is the most powerful person. Example, I am taking a hypothetical case. Citizen, Prime Minister, President, or a relative of somebody. ठीक है ना? You have to choose. Civil services exam has got a special place because it is not about facts only. It is about how best. Every option will appear true. सारे आंसर ठीक लगेंगे. But then you have to pick the best. And that thinking, that logic will come with time. Practice के साथ आएगा. Okay. Next. Special legal sanctity, since it derives its power and authority from people directly, as evident in preamble. Preamble में लिखा भी है, we the people of. Next, Constitution regulates the relationship. Constitution regulates the relationship. Please read what you are writing. My intention to dictate is this only. Constitution also regulates the relationship between state and its citizens. State does not mean Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. State means government or somebody who is ruling. What is the name of this relationship between state and citizen? इस relationship को क्या बोलते हैं? What is the name of the relationship that exists between the state and the citizens? One example. Simple है यार. Very simple. Citizenship. है कि नहीं? You enjoy all these rights because you are citizen. What will be your relation with the state? How state will treat you is mentioned in the fundamental rights. But then for that you need to be a citizen to enjoy that. Okay. Next. Any problem till now? It regulates the relation between constitution and the citizens. In bracket you can write down citizenship. Okay. Now this is clear. I just gave you 3-4 lines on this. The remaining is given in the notes also. Even if you go through these notes, they are more than enough. and I just forgot to tell you the source from where you have to read. Okay, no need to study many books. ये भी बता दूँ आपको. Though these two are enough, you go through these class notes and whatever I'm discussing, I'm not dictating, I'm discussing. Read that, write that. Usko bhi likh lo, because this is just coming out spontaneously. I did not write anywhere. Okay, and vision will also give you some material. So go through that also. Nothing beyond this is required. But then some people will have this tendency to buy one more book. What is that? The name is very attractive, no? Lakshmikant you can buy, but you may not buy. Okay, it's up to you. Even without Lakshmikant, you can clear this examination if you are attentive in class and if you are going through these notes perfectly well. And whatever test will be given to you, go through the test very well. And few questions which you are not able to answer, try to answer them at home or discuss the things with your batchmates. Third thing, which is the most important thing, is the तीसरी source. Third source. Am I visible at that? Third source. Current affairs, and the source will be newspaper, of course. Do not ask the newspaper vendor to throw 5-6 paper. It will just add to what? हिंदी में उसको क्या बोलते हैं? रद्दी. Okay, it will be just a crap, no use of that. Only ask for one paper, that will be Indian Express or Hindu. Anyone, okay? Because see, why current affairs is important? UPSC has got this tendency that whatever was in news, current affairs, they try to pull the question from that topic, even in history. For example, somehow if Alexander was in news, for example, somehow we are talking about the charter signed by King John in 1215 AD. So please go through the charter. Sometime back, preamble was in news or not? But there was a debate that we should remove the word secularism from preamble. Abhi debate chal raha tha. Rajya Sabha was in news or not? Why was Rajya Sabha in news? Elections to Rajya Sabha. Right or wrong? Emergency is in news or not? Arunachal emergency, Uttarakhand emergency, state emergency, ये सब news में था. People who are not aware of these things, do not worry. I'll come on these things in an elaborate manner. It's only for the people who know these things. Okay, घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है. We do not know about emergency. No problem. We are here to discuss that only, right? So whatever is coming in the news from political perspective, read that and relate that with the class notes. For example, when we said that the emergency in Arunachal or Uttarakhand, they were controversial. You open up the chapter of emergency and read all the provisions and see why there is a controversy. ठीक है ना? 2012, CAG was in news. CAG means Comptroller and Auditor General. Question came on CAG. 2G scam, coal scam. So he was in news. CAG question आ गया इसके ऊपर. 2014, Supreme Court was in news for judicial appointment bill. 2 questions came on Supreme Court. Okay, so this way, whatever is in news, question might come from that. Chances are huge. See, why I'm discussing these things, because when you go through the revision in the final stages, you may not be in a position to revise everything. That time it will create a kind of a pressure on you. Yeah, what should I revise now? Okay, do not leave the things which were in news. This is my message. Bottom line, ये है. Okay, sources. Do not buy 4th book beyond this. DD Basu, Subhash Kashyap, everything has already been incorporated in the class notes or vision notes. उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है. It will only add to your pressure. Do not be under pressure when you are preparing. Follow this and see the magic yourself. ठीक है? Next. Yeah. NCRT, I will not prescribe. If you have time, you can go through. No problem. They are good books, but then it will take your time. Same thing will be given in these things, no? With elaboration. भाई सीधा बाइक चलानी सीखो ना. Why bicycle? Is this calligraphy legible? समझ में आ रहा है ना? Constitutionalism. Okay. Anyone, what is the meaning of the word constitutionalism? Constitution is discussed. Constitutionalism क्या चीज है? Anyone? Sir, बोलो बोलो. What? Very good. Excellent, sir. I give you an example. See. You must have watched many cartoons also. Oh, देखे होंगे सर. डरने की जरूरत नहीं है, सही है. Okay. Aladdin, Arabian Nights. Okay. One very famous character in that cartoon program, Aladdin, Arabian Nights, was what? Genie. जिसको हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? जिन. जिन्ना नहीं, जिन. Okay. Aladdin. Genie was a famous character. Was Genie having powers or not? He was not having powers. He was having huge powers. Huge powers he was having, right? So he was useful for whom? Aladdin. Aladdin could get any work done through the genie. Genie से कुछ भी बोलो वो काम करवा देगा, except for asking Jasmine to love him. उसके अलावा बाकी कुछ भी बोलो. You ask him to build a temple, he will build. To build a castle, वो 2 सेकंड में बना देगा. Genie was an extremely powerful entity. Can this genie not be threatful also? If the same genie, which can do anything for his master, can also become equally dangerous. If we change master nahi, if we lose control over him. By control was where? Lamp. Whosoever had the lamp, he had the control of the genie. Now in case this lamp is lost, genie can wreak havoc or not? Genie tehas nehas kar sakta hai ki nahi kar sakta? But then thankfully, this powerful genie is in our control, is in the control of the lamp, and lamp was in the hands of Aladdin. If you have understood this thing, tell me, who is Aladdin? Who is genie? Government. बोलो कौन है genie? State. You ask anything from the state, state will give you. You ask protection, state will give you. You ask home, they will give you. You ask health, education, सब देंगे आपको वो लोग. Right or wrong? Yes. Genie is your obedient servant in that sense, and it has got huge powers. And who is Aladdin means who is controlling this genie? Citizens of this country. Through whom? Constitution. If you have tamed, अब ध्यान से सुनो, do not write, focus here. If, and let me tell you, this constitution alone is not the lamp. There are some other bodies also. हाँ, ठीक है सर? इसको भूल ही जाओ आप थोड़ी देर. State can do anything for the citizens, provided state is in control of citizens. The powers of state is limited or defined. If the citizens of this country can limit or define the power of the state, then we have a system which is called as constitutionalism. If, let me repeat, if the citizens of this country can limit the powers of the state, or they can force the state to work according to some fixed rules or not to become arbitrary, then you have a political scenario in place which is called as constitutionalism. Having constitution does not mean constitutionalism. Constitution hona काफी नहीं है. Constitution is only a mean through which we can limit the powers of government. But ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है. See, take the case of, give me one example where you have constitution but you do not have constitutionalism. Sir, you understood what is constitutionalism? पहले ये जवाब दो. Understood? Sure. What is the meaning of constitutionalism? Anything which you have understood, बोलो. What is the meaning of constitutionalism? What is the meaning of constitutionalism? बोलो यार, whatever you have understood, कुछ भी, Hindi, English, whatever language, बोलो. What is the meaning of constitutionalism? Excellent. Or I can say otherwise, ध्यान से सुना, when the state which is ruling the society is having limited powers. Limited powers means defined powers. ऐसा नहीं कि whatever they feel like they do. No. If the state is working according to some rules, it is not working arbitrarily. Arbitrarily means I am doing whatever I feel like. If the state is not arbitrary, it is following some rules when it works, then this scenario is called as constitutionalism. And having constitution is a prerequisite to develop constitutionalism. But how will you define the power of the state? कैसे आप state को बोलोगे that you cannot arrest people at your will? You cannot kill people at your will. कैसे बोलोगे आप state को? Constitution. State's constitution says nobody can be killed arbitrarily. To kill somebody, there has to be a reason. ये है कि नहीं है? And if government does not follow constitution, we will question him. We question government. आपने ये कैसे किया? Upsc is in news or not? Armed Forces Special Power Act. 3 days back it was in news. It limits the power of the government to arrest or kill people. Right or wrong? ये बात है. Precisely. We can say emergency was a period when this was almost absent. Though provisions of emergency provide us that we can arrest anyone, we can detain anyone, but then there has to be some ground, no? In 1975, the grounds were missing. Emergency was imposed. And what was missing that time was constitutionalism. Government की जो मर्जी थी उसने किया. Whatever government felt like, it did. Arbitrary working. There was no constitutionalism. Give me now one example. देखो, constitution has to be there to limit the powers of the government. वो तो होना ही चाहिए. But then, is constitution enough to bring constitutionalism? हाँ जी. Give me one example where you have constitution, but you do not have constitutionalism नहीं है हमारे पास. Sir? हाँ, रिपब्लिक ऑफ चाइना. बहुत इज्जत के साथ आपने चाइना का नाम लिया है. चाइना, रिपब्लिक ऑफ चाइना. और कोई एग्जाम्पल? चाइना इज करेक्ट. नहीं, रशिया, डू नॉट से रशिया. नॉर्थ कोरिया. किम साहब है ना लीडर. आई एम किम फॉर एग्जाम्पल, नॉर्थ कोरियन प्रेसिडेंट. ओके, शी इज द आर्मी चीफ ऑफ नॉर्थ कोरिया. आई वॉज डिलीवरिंग द लेक्चर. शी yawned. I made her sit on the missile and launch her to Mars. ये actually हुआ. This actually happened. The military chief was yawning. I mean, he didn't do it deliberately. अब yawning है तो है. The military chief just yawned in front of the president. He got so irritated, he made him actually tie to a missile and he was launched. North Korea constitution is there in North Korea. Let me tell you. है कि नहीं है? But then this constitution is not enough to control the powers of the president of North Korea. President of North Korea, whatever he feels like, he will do. वो जो मन में आएगा करेगा. Do not visit North Korea for the same reason. And even if you visit, do not meet the president. What dangerous है. So I gave you an example where you have constitution in place, but government is arbitrary. Government does not follow constitution. In fact, what government says becomes constitution. This is an example of something, some place where constitution is there, but constitutionalism is missing. One more example. Sir, sir, थोड़ा सा Zimbabwe, very good. There is no effective government. One tribe killing other tribe, or government is actually nexus with some tribes. They are killing the people. Or some example which can be comprehended easily: Libya, Somalia, Iraq under Saddam Hussein. भाई Libya में क्या है? Libya was under the control of Gaddafi. Gaddafi himself made the constitution of the country, which is called as Green Book. Gaddafi made the constitution of Libya, which he termed as Green Book, Hari Kitab. But then he himself never followed the Hari Kitab, Green Book. Means constitution was there, but the constitution was not enough to control the working of the president. President overlooked the constitution and he did whatever he felt like arbitrarily. If somebody was to be killed, he killed, even if constitution did not allow it. Saddam Hussein, constitution was there in Iraq, but who was prevailing? Saddam Hussein himself. मतलब constitution तो था, but what was not there? Government was limitless. Nobody could control the government. This is called as absence of constitutionalism, right? दो तीन लाइन लिख लो इसमें. हाँ जी सर. What is not possible? It may not be, but then it may be. Singapore, it was. It is depending on the intention of the dictator. Okay. Cuba, Castro. I'm not saying that Castro is the best leader. And let me tell you this also. अभी मैं इस पे आने वाला हूँ. There is no country where we say that constitutionalism is zero. ये, see this. If I can represent constitutionalism in a continuum, continuum means grade कर देता हूँ अगर मैं. If this is zero, zero means complete absence or lack of constitutionalism. बिल्कुल भी नहीं है constitutionalism. Government is doing whatever it feels like and nobody at all can stop the government. This scenario, if I give it zero ranking, I give the opposite scenario the rank of 10. मतलब absolute constitutionalism. Here the government does not work an inch against the wishes of the constitution. Here the government is working under complete control. वो opposite scenario है. That is called as complete constitutionalism. Tell me, India is lying here 0 or 10? We should say 10, but then 10 cannot be given even to India and America. America को 10 देंगे. UK 10 किसको देंगे? Which country will get 10 on this scale? Which country government is working completely according to the laws? कोई नहीं. Constitutionalism is a kind of a vision which may not get completely achieved at any point of time because human are running the system and there is a tendency of human to err. गलती तो इंसान से होगी ना सर. और see, continuum means if I place, as he said, Zimbabwe here, I can place North Korea here, Libya here. Constitutionalism is very less. Government is not following the constitution. Government is doing whatever it feels like. Okay, यहाँ कम है constitutionalism. India can be put somewhere here. Okay, एक second sir, complete होने दो. USA, somewhat there. The gap is not much, but then no country can touch 10. Is this clear to everyone? बोलो sir.
So you mentioned about absence of constitutionalism during emergency.
हाँ.
But then it was against that. It had the legal sanctity of constitution itself. It was under the provisions of constitution, emergency was followed.
हाँ.
So how do
I said that every procedure was followed, but then the grounds. Later on, did not we amend the provisions of the emergency? The grounds on which they were imposed? What was the reason?
so because the cabinet was not given the constitution?
Yes, because in 1975 when the emergency was proclaimed, though the procedures were not broken, but they were actually somehow bypassed and the intention was also doubtful. Intentions की बात थी. हाँ, right? Write down. Having a constitution itself, ये लिखो आप लोग. Constitutionalism means, write this thing. Constitutionalism means a system. Constitutionalism means a system having a limited government. In Hindi you can call it government, but English में लिखना. Constitutionalism means a system having limited government, that is a government whose powers are not unlimited, comma, unrestricted, free, or that acts arbitrarily. Arbitrarily means the way it wants, जैसे मन किया वैसे. Unlimited government, unlimited government unlimited governments concentrates the power in few hands. And there is no one to prevent the state from misusing its powers. Comma, encroach upon the rights of people, comma, encroach upon the rights of people and be corrupt. Just having constitution होना ही काफी नहीं है. Just having constitution is not enough to ensure constitutionalism. To ensure constitutionalism. Sir, understood? Constitutionalism means when government will act according to the wishes of people, according to the constitution. It will not misuse the power. Right, sir? ये तो एक सिनेरियो दे दिया मैंने. Now imagine this case. This is the best way I can draw the jinn. Drawing एक problem है. Okay. Now assume that this is a demon. Demon समझते हो sir? Rakshas. Having huge powers. Jinn है. It has got huge powers. If it serves you, nothing better than that. But then if it comes to misuse the power, then God save you. Okay. We want that this demon is controlled. इसको control किया जाए. So that we can make the best use of his talent. What can be done? इसके पास power बहुत है. What can be done to tame or control this demon? ये state है state. What can be done to tame or control this demon so that we can draw the best of his talent and prevent him from misusing his powers? क्या करें हम लोग? Suggest. Sir. Huh? Social contract. It may not sign. You are right, but that can come later on. Basic क्या करना चाहिए आपके हिसाब से? You see this thing. When you write mains, when you take the questions in pre, you will encounter these kind of situations where hypothetically somebody thought of a question and he framed the question. अब उसने तो ये question frame कर दिया. You did not know his intentions of framing the question. So there also you will come across some hypothetical situations where you have to answer that also. उसके लिए this can be a training ground. Okay, tell me, if this is a demon having huge powers which can be used for your benefit, how can I ensure that this does not go out of control or out of hand? क्या करना चाहिए? We should make the state happy by providing him the facility. इसकी कोई limit नहीं है happy होने की. He is very greedy. You gave them salary of 1 lakh, they want 1 crore. हाँ जी. he can be sanctioned, but to sanction this demon, you need to have some tools or not? Excellent. Or let me divide this demon into 3 parts. Why I do not give all the, इसके पास सारी power है. He has the power to make law, he has the power to implement the law, and he can give you justice. Okay, so what we do, इसकी power को divide कर देते हैं. We take away some of its powers and divide it. I am the king. See this thing. Today I am going to the depth of it because this is the first class. Slowly I might increase my speed. Okay. Imagine this case that I am the king and you are the common man. I am having the power to make law, to implement the law, and when there is a problem to you, you come to me and I give you justice. सारी power मेरे हाथ में. I make law, I implement the law, and I give you justice. Can I not become arbitrary? Can I not misuse my power? दुर्योधन बनने में कितनी देर लगेगी? What can you do so that I do not become arbitrary, I do not misuse my power? क्या करोगे आप लोग? Division of power. This is the word. Separation of power. You take away some of my powers and give it to some other person. Sir, you give your law making power and give it to her. You take out your law implementation power and give it to him. You keep the judicial functions with you. ठीक है ना? So what we do is demon को हम 3 parts में divide कर देते हैं. This is the legislature, this is the executive, and this is the judiciary. Powers कम हो गई ना? Means we created out of 1 jinn, we created how many? 3. अब 3 jinn हो गए, and all these 3 jinns or demons, they will keep a check on each other. Though they look like angels, but then they are jinn. Okay, ये है legislature, executive and judiciary. यहाँ एक था, I divided them into 3. If now legislature, the law making body, they make wrong laws to infringe upon the rights of people, ये ऐसे law बना सकते कि नहीं बना सकते? They can make law which will take away your liberty. Sir, example. One example of a law. One who? Arbitrary detention is a different thing. Preventive detention is legal. Sir, वो illegal है. Sometime back there was a notification by the government. बिल्कुल. Sometime back there was a notification by the government that you need to share your WhatsApp data or you have to keep that for 3 months. Government कभी भी आपसे मांग लेगी. This was a law which was hugely protested by you. But you know this or not? Many people may not be knowing. But then government was planning to come up with a law that way under which your social media data, Facebook or WhatsApp, you have to keep for 3 months, and government can ask you also to share in the interest of national security. बड़ा डेंजरस हो सकता है कि नहीं सर? पता नहीं व्हाट्सएप में आपने कौन कौन सी इंफॉर्मेशन सेव कर रखी है. इफ द गवर्नमेंट आस्क्स दैट, विल इट नॉट बी डेंजर टू यू? पापा नहीं मांग लिया, बहुत खतरनाक हो जाएगा. वी रेजिस्टेड इट एंड देन इट वाज ड्रॉप्ड. इनफैक्ट Supreme Court also could have stopped the legislature in this direction or not? That this law which you have made, though Supreme Court generally stops the government when the law has been made, bill stage पे नहीं करता है. Had that become a law, Supreme Court also could have stopped the government. Yeah, this law is infringement of the right of privacy of people, remove this law. Means if this demon, if this part of government does something wrong or infringe upon or encroach or trample the rights of people, there are 2 other demons who will stop this, and one of the biggest demon is judiciary. Judiciary रोक देगी इसको. Executive does something wrong, both of them will punish them. Give me one example where executive you know not, government, इसको हम प्यार से बोलते हैं COM. If for example, give me one example where executive can do something wrong and in that scenario legislature stops the executive. Executive means Council of Ministers, government. कोई एग्जाम्पल दो सर. आधार बिल में क्या हुआ बोलो? आधार बिल वॉज नॉट पास्ड. पास हो गया तो फिर सी अंडरस्टैंड दिस क्वेश्चन. आई एम आस्किंग यू, टेल मी हाउ कैन लेजिस्लेचर स्टॉप एग्जीक्यूटिव फ्रॉम डूइंग समथिंग रॉन्ग or from misusing its powers? Accountability. Excellent. Through what? Motions. For example, executive is not doing anything in your interest. They are so corrupt that legislature passes what motion? No confidence motion against them. By government itni corrupt hai, legislature passed what? No confidence motion, because this government was not working in your favor. Government, executive, I am using this word government for executive. Executive, who brings out the budget? Executive or legislature? And who presents the budget? Executive. It is passed by legislature. For example, executive presented a budget which was not liked by legislature. अरे ये कैसा budget है? It is not for people. It is for your own self. Legislature ने question किया. Cannot legislature remove the executive now? But you are government, you are executive, you made a faulty budget. Cannot legislature punish you for that? Yes. If budget is not passed, what will happen? Government will punishment होगा ना executive के लिए. So they will be highly cautious in making the budget. Armed Forces Special Power Act. It is a law. This law was made with an intention to maintain security in this country. ये इस इंटेंशन से बनाया गया था, particularly for the problematic areas of northeast, Jammu Kashmir also. But then it was found that executive, भाई ये फौजी क्या हैं? The people who are stationed there, they are representative of executive only, and executive, the ministers are not able to check their misuse of powers under, you know, Upsc or not? Under Armed Forces Special Power Act, the officers in these troubled areas where this act is imposed, like Manipur, JNK, they can arrest anyone. They can even shoot, and the inquiry will also not be done through the normal judicial process. Okay, inquiry भी पहले internal होगी उनकी. Now through this AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act, officers are misusing their positions. Not always, but in many times. So legislature is now thinking that we should remove this act because it is misuse of power done by the executive against people. Intention तो सही थी, मगर ये executive implement ठीक से नहीं कर पाया. So we can remove it. What I mean to say is that if executive does not work according to the wishes of the constitution, or it goes somehow against the people, legislature can punish the executive. Judiciary also. If judiciary starts doing something wrong, who will punish the judiciary? Legislature. By judges. If some judge is corrupt, he will be removed from the position or not? Who will remove the judge? Particularly Supreme Court, High Court? Legislature. वो हटा देंगे उसको. Can also executive have some control over judiciary? हाँ जी. Can executive have some control over judiciary? Some बोला मैंने, some. How? President signs the appointment of the judges. Also they have some say in the appointment of the judges. है कि नहीं है? So this way, my discussion was aimed to tell you that what beautiful system we have designed. बहुत अच्छा system हमने design किया है. We have divided the important powers among three bodies. Power एक के पास नहीं है. Power is divided among the legislature, executive, and judiciary. When power is divided, nobody becomes absolute. Nobody can become dictator. And when nobody is dictator, there is constitutionalism prevailing. Not only we divided the power divide ही नहीं किया हमने. We have also done one thing. What is that? Checks and balances. Not only we divided the power, we also gave the system the privilege that one organ of the government can control the other organ. That organ can control the other two organs. Means all these three organs can control each other if they misuse the power. भाई एक तो ईमानदार होगा. Assume that these two become corrupt, then at least judiciary will save you or not? Assume that judiciary becomes corrupt, then legislature will save you or not? This way, we can ensure that state serves you in the best possible manner. The jinn serves you in the best possible manner, and it does not misuse the power. When state does not misuse the power, this system is called as constitutionalism.
सर अगर राज्यसभा लोकसभा में रूलिंग पार्टी मेजोरिटी में तो क्या उसको सर बाकी के मेंबर्स कैसे हो सकते हैं?
रूलिंग पार्टी
रूलिंग पार्टी मेजोरिटी में राज्यसभा में लोकसभा में तो कोई भी बिल तो पास कर सकती है।
ईरानी जी का अभी प्रमोशन हुआ, पता है आपको? अच्छा, डिमोशन चलो. Was it not said that there was a public opinion against her? It was a common thing or not? Government in a democratic setup cannot ignore the public emotions, public opinion, no matter, सुनो मेरा, no matter you are in majority or not. My discussion is not over because only these things are not there to ensure constitutionalism. There are other things also which will ensure that state work according to the wishes of people. What are the other things which will ensure that state does not misuse its powers apart from separation of power and checks and balances? Separation of power means we have divided the powers. एक तो ये हो गया. Through separation of power we tame the state, we control the state. Then checks and balances. Legislature will control the executive, executive will control the judiciary, and vice versa. What are the other means by which we can control the state? हाँ, वो तो judiciary आ गया ना, public interest litigation. Elections, yes, we discussed that also. Media. Media is so important in a country like India that it is said that media is the fourth pillar of Indian democracy. चौथा pillar है. What are the three pillars? Indian fourth pillar मतलब क्या? Pillar means something which gives stability to something. If Indian democracy is like this, three pillars are legislature, executive, judiciary. Fourth pillar है media. If media becomes corrupt, there can be very danger. But then thankfully, media in India is very vigilant. In fact, sometimes more vigilant than required. है कि नहीं? It can stop the executive, legislature and judiciary from misusing the power. Give me example. Where media somehow played a very proactive role in ensuring that government does not misuse the power. हाँ जी बोलो. कोई भी एक example. बिहार केस लालू यादव में क्या हुआ तो चारा घोटाला, even 2G scam, coal scam, this initial information, Commonwealth scam, corruption जो scam हुई थी, who blew the lid from these scams initially? Media. Then this was taken up further. Media भी बहुत important है to ensure what? Constitutionalism. Apart from separation of power, checks and balances, media, what other things are required to ensure constitutionalism? Constitution itself. Constitution भी होना जरूरी है. What other things are required? Rule of law. Other thing required to ensure constitutionalism? Apart from these things? सोचो, this is an exam of, आप ये देखो, see this thing. 15,000 people are writing mains. 15,000 लोग लिखेंगे ना mains. Approximately 13 to 15,000 people. And almost everyone, apart from few people, must be having the same similar notes. But why only few will pass, few will not? और pass fail को भी छोड़ो, why will few perform better, few will not perform that better? What could be the reason? Creative thinking is also one thing which is required in this examination. If in the point of constitutionalism, I can think of 10 points and he can think of 12 points, he will have an edge over me or not? So think, and if more you can think, faster you can think, more marks you will get. और thinking यहीं से शुरू होगी. It will not start after 2 months or 3 months. हाँ जी. Opposition. But then opposition will be part of legislature only. Very good, sir. Very good. बहुत बढ़िया. Civil society बोल दूं उसको. What is the difference between India and Pakistan apart from names? Major difference है India Pakistan में. Why India is still a highly developed civilized state and Pakistan is falling day by day? What is the reason? Big reason. Civil society. Public opinion is not very strong in Pakistan. Whereas in India, public opinion is very, very strong. Sometime back, see, now this is the height of misadventure. Some time back, there was a little girl, 13, 14 years old. She was mentally not sound, and she had a bag in which there was some burned pages of Quran. Okay, the pages were found in her bag. Now, somebody who is not controlled in his mind, can you expect or can you make her responsible for that thing? Having burned copy of Quran in Pakistan is a crime, blasphemy hai wo. Immediately she was put in the bar and she was put into solitary confinement. Imagine the trauma that little child was going through. People raised their voices that this is not good, this is the tramplation of human rights at its best. And she was not released until international pressure was put on Pakistan. She was not released for many days. Had that case been India, she would have been released within a day. And that day might not ever occur in India also. Thankfully, because we have civil society which is working day in, day out to ensure that nobody's rights are trampled. Civil society, matlab, I'll tell you, for example, NGO, interest groups. I'll discuss that separately in governance, right? Right on. The provisions which ensure constitutionalism prevails. The provisions which ensure that constitutionalism prevails. First, a democratically formed constitution. A democratically formed constitution. Constitution to hona chahiye, but then it should be formed democratically also. Not like Gaddafi, who himself made the constitution. A democratically formed constitution. Second, separation of powers. Anybody who is not clear on separation of powers, you know the meaning of it or not? Checks and balances. Rule of law. Independence of judiciary. Judicial review. Read every word. समझ के लिखना है सर. Independence of judiciary. Rule of law. Judicial review. Fundamental rights. Strong civil society. And an active media. Active and responsible media likho. Active and responsible media. Media need to be very responsible, else it will create havoc. Functions of constitution, only 4 lines, ज़्यादा नहीं है. Functions of constitution 4 लाइन है बस. It reflects the ideology. I explained that initially, so I'm not going to discuss it again. It reflects the ideology and philosophy of the nation state. Keep reading every word. Do not just sit here, write and think about something else. समझ के लिखो. It validates. It validates. It means constitution. It validates all other laws in this country. Laws लिखना, laws मत लिखना. Do not write laws. Laws है LAWS. It validates all other laws in this country. Next. Provides organizational framework for government. Provides organizational framework for government. That is its composition. Composition मतलब structure कैसा होगा? It gives the procedure. It means constitution. It itself gives the procedure. It itself gives the procedure to amend the constitution. Constitution को amend कैसे करना है वो भी वो खुद बताता है. Which article? बहुत बढ़िया, excellent. Next. Describes the rights and the duties of citizens. and residents of the country. Rights and duties of citizens and the residents of the country. Which is the lengthiest constitution in the world? Sure? Or American? Indian constitution, सब बात में अमेरिका आगे थोड़ी ना. Indian constitution is the lengthiest constitution of the world. Why it is so lengthy, sir? What is the reason? Diversity है. You say first of all Indian constitution. What is the core of Indian constitution? Means what was the basic law on which we bound and made the Indian constitution? Government of India Act 1935. Government of India Act 1935 is the basic framework on which Indian constitution is built. उसी पे addition कर करके we made the Indian constitution, right? Now Government of India Act 1935 itself was very bulky. वो खुद ही इतना लंबा था. Over to that we made additions, so it increased its length. Then as you said very correctly, India has got so much of diversity. है कि नहीं है? Example. बोलो diversity example. Male female वो तो हर जगह है. Geographical, social, cultural, economical diversity है कि नहीं है? We have made provisions for the people who are economically weak in the constitution. We have made provisions for the people who are minority. Which minority? Linguistic and religious minority. उनके लिए भी है. We have made provisions for JNK in the same constitution. या अलग है उनके लिए? They have their own constitution, but regarding that also there is a mention in the constitution or not? Which article? Excellent. Do not worry if you do not know the article. Do not get worried. Do not get carried away. Some people know because they must have read somewhere. Now after 2 months you will also know. अभी डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. Apart from that, diversity means, for example, we have made special provisions for the northeastern states. बनाया हमने. We have written that for Nagaland, these are the provisions which will ensure its development. For Marathwada, for Saurashtra, these are the provisions. Gujarat, special states के लिए, JNK के लिए भी हमने लिखा है. We have given provisions for Andhra Pradesh also. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward communities, women, children. Okay. Apart from that, there are other reasons why it is so lengthy. What can be those reasons? Quick, I'll not dictate, I'll just discuss these things. Hanji? Very good. Indian constitution has all the details about the working not only of the union government but also of the state government. Take the case of America. In America, there is a federal constitution which talks about the America in general, and also every state has got its own constitution. Here we do not have separate constitution for the states. There is a single constitution which is talking about every state. तो length तो अपने आप ही बढ़ेगी. Any other reason? This thing is given in the notes also. Vision में जो notes मिलेंगे, so I'm not dictating, very easy भी है ये. Okay. Any other reason why its length is so much? Sir बोलो last row में. Very good. As I told, excellent sir. As I told, Indian constitution is organic. It evolves with time. It keeps bringing new and new things. जैसे for example GST. If it is passed, we will add that thing in constitution or not? वो add कर देंगे. Land boundary agreement with Bangladesh, we added. तो time के साथ साथ, और tomorrow you never know. For example, we accept that transgenders have some rights. We may add that into constitution. है कि नहीं? So as time changes, value changes, and we also ensure that constitution lives up to the new value system. तो उससे उसका size बढ़ेगा. One more reason, अभी तक किसी ने बोला नहीं है. There are few special things which are found in Indian constitution which may not be found in every constitution. कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं जो यहाँ मिलेंगी, हर जगह नहीं है. DPSP, for example, every constitution may not have DPSP. DPSP means Directive Principles of State Policy. Do not worry, I'll discuss each and everything. I can see that some people become fearful. क्या DPSP क्या चीज है? Don't worry, सब आएगा, ठीक है ना? Fundamental duties और fundamental duties भी है sir. Fundamental rights. Are fundamental rights available in every constitution? Yes or no? No. Explicitly, fundamental rights may not be in every constitution, but here we have a whole chapter. और बड़ा भी बहुत है. So it adds to the length of Indian Constitution. Clear, sir? Constituent Assembly, which was the first parliament of free India. पार्लियामेंट कहां से आई थी? बहुत बढ़िया. This Constituent Assembly, you know what is Constituent Assembly? Constituent Assembly is a body or was a body which was formed to form the constitution of this country. इस देश का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बनाने के लिए एक बॉडी थी, उसका नाम था कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली. अंडर विच स्कीम दिस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली वाज फॉर्म? बहुत बढ़िया. कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान विच ईयर? 1946. अंडर कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान वी गॉट दिस परमिशन टू फॉर्म द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली. उन्होंने बोला, किसने बोला? अंग्रेजों ने, ब्रिटिशर्स. अंग्रेज अच्छा वर्ड है ना, इसलिए आई यूज अंग्रेज. ब्रिटिशर्स टोल्ड अस, यू फॉर्म अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली, you form your own constitution through this body. हमने वो body बनाई, it formed the constitution, and when we adopted the constitution, which date we adopted the constitution, sir? November 26, not 26 January. Okay, 26 November 1949. ये क्वेश्चन एक बार मेंस में आया था. This question came in mains. What is the significance of 26 November? That year 26. देखो अभी क्वेश्चन कहां से आ रहे हैं? That year Mumbai attack took place. Which date Mumbai attack took place? Same date. Okay. Whatever is coming in newspaper, they might convert it into a question. अभी सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन था, what is the significance of 26 November? क्या significance है? We adopted the constitution and Mumbai terror attack भी हुआ. But then you should have first written, we adopted the constitution. Some people only wrote Mumbai terror attack. No. This was also important. ठीक है सर? So Constituent Assembly formed the constitution, and once we adopted the constitution, on which date? 26 November 1949. And force हुआ था कब? 26 January 1950. Excellent. From that point, when we adopted the constitution till when was the first general election taking place? When the first general election took place? 1950? '52. Till the time this Constituent Assembly worked like a parliament. ये parliament की तरह काम करता था. Okay? Because unless you have elections, democratically held elections, you cannot have a parliament. Proper parliament तो तभी आएगी ना जब elections होंगे. Now Constituent Assembly was not formed through a general election all India level. They were just your representatives which were elected indirectly. Agreed? This is true. Now question comes, ये question आ गया exam में. Was Constituent Assembly a sovereign body? Sovereign, you understand or not? Sovereign का मतलब पता है आपको? What is the meaning? हाँ जी बोलो. Sovereign meaning. Sovereign meaning. Yes, free from external control. Independent, completely independent. देखो ध्यान से सुनो. Something which is sovereign is completely independent. There is no other body which will govern this body, do this or do that. Is India a sovereign country? Can Americans say us do this? Yes. We'll discuss that in the third class. Okay. Anyway, if I ask you this question, and this is a part of history, I'll also take this, but at the fag end of these classes, which last me. How these were formed and this and that. Though history portion will also cover this. How many members were there in the Constituent Assembly initially? Somebody at that side. 3? Initially there were 380 9 members. Then Muslim League pulled out, Pakistan formed, members got reduced. See, these questions may come in the examination, but then for this you need not worry yourself. Even when you discuss these things in class or among yourself, you will learn these things. इसको रट्टा लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Now I asked you question, she answered, you got the answer. Now I am sure you will not forget this. What was the number? 380. अब भूलने की जरूरत ही नहीं. Just be attentive in the class. Civil services is a not that difficult exam also, provided you remain alert in the class and you are sincere at least for 1 year. For 1 year, you should focus only on studies and have faith on the whatever is being taught in the class. Usko samjho and internalize that. For 1 year, be dedicated, but be happy. It should not take away the smile from your faces. ठीक है ना? पढ़ाई करो, but उसके लिए थोड़ी ना. Some people think that if we smile, God is watching us and He will bring down the marks. हंसने से भगवान नाराज नहीं होंगे. In fact, He might also become happy and give you more marks. ये देख लेना आप लोग, right? अब ये क्वेश्चन अगर मैंने पूछ लिया आपसे, was Constituent Assembly a sovereign body? What will be the answer? Initially, it was not, because Constituent Assembly was formed first of all by the British body under the British provision. Cabinet Mission Plan की वजह से बना था ना Constituent Assembly. Moreover, when Constituent Assembly was formed initially, there was a provision that any time it can be dissolved by the British power. वो इसको dissolve कर सकते थे. Then Constituent Assembly achieved the sovereign character. अपनी sovereignty को उन्होंने खुद develop किया. They passed a resolution that nobody can dissolve us except for our own self. हम खुद ही अपने आप को dissolve कर सकते हैं, कोई और नहीं कर सकता. See, if I can dissolve you, I can end you. Are you sovereign? No. So Constituent Assembly passed a resolution that only we can dissolve ourselves, and that too by passing a resolution through a special majority. और कोई हमको dissolve नहीं कर सकता. Then this India Independence Act was passed 15th August, which declared this Constituent Assembly to be a sovereign body. अब आप जो भी करोगे, you are independent, you want to make constitution, you are free. British will not dictate you. You make the constitution this way or that way. आप पूरी तरह से free हो. So answer क्या है इसका? You write down 2 lines on this. Constituent Assembly was not a sovereign body. CA लिख लो. Constituent Assembly was not a sovereign body to begin with. शुरू में तो नहीं थी. Please keep reading what you're writing. As it was created by the British government under Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. And it could have been dissolved, by whom? Excellent, बहुत बढ़िया. At least you are attentive. Dissolved by British only. अंग्रेज ही इसको dissolve कर सकते थे. But the CA means Constituent Assembly. But the CA asserted its sovereign character. But the Constituent Assembly asserted its sovereign character by passing a resolution that it could not be dissolved except through, कोई इसको खत्म नहीं कर सकता, except through its own resolution. वो खुद को खत्म करें तो करें. They can dissolve themselves, otherwise nobody else. Could not be dissolved except through its own resolution supported by 2/3 of the total membership of the assembly. After passage मतलब passing, after passage of Indian Independence Act. On which date? Very good. On 15th August 1947, Constituent Assembly assumed the full sovereign character. Assumed the full sovereign character. It became the first, sorry, it became not only a constitution framing body, it became not only a constitution framing body, but also a law making body. जनरल लॉ भी इन्होंने बनाई. Acted like the first parliament of free India. Acted like the first parliament of free India. This is the writing speed required in mains, believe me, maybe faster also. And continued in that capacity. And continued in that capacity till the first general election. In which year, sir? 52. You want a break of 10 minutes in between, or should I continue for one more hour? लगातार. Suppose, take this case, इसको hypothetical case लो. Take this case, I give you an assignment, एक assignment आपको देता हूँ that please make Constitution of India. आपको ये काम दे दिया गया सबको that please make Constitution of India. ठीक है सर? Means you are member of Constituent Assembly. And how many are the members, sir? Excellent, 389. ऐसे ही रट जाएगा आपको, right? Now I gave you this assignment that please you make the Constitution of Free India. What will be the first step you are going to take? बोलो सर, पहला कदम क्या उठाओ? हाँ, you will do the analysis of the whole condition then. सर सब ग्रुप्स और डिफरेंट, पर उससे भी पहले कुछ करना पड़ेगा. बिफोर दैट यू नीड टू डू समथिंग. मेक अ चीफ. अच्छा हाँ, प्रेसिडेंट. हु वाज द फर्स्ट प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली? डॉक्टर. इंटरिम वाज Sachidanand Sinha, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha. For how many days? 2 days. Okay. And who was the first regular president of Constituent Assembly, sir? Dr. Okay. Now, what will be the first step if you start making the constitution? What will come to your mind first? चुराने की बात पहले करोगी. यार अपना ओरिजिनल भी तो कुछ काम करो. To steal in such a way that nobody catches is also original. बहुत बढ़िया. First of all, yes, excellent. First of all, you will design or you will think what should be the aims of the government of Free India. The aim of government of Britain in India was what? To exploit, to extract as much money as possible. है कि नहीं है? Whereas the aim of the government of Free India was or is, बोलो, what is the aim of government of Free India? क्या purpose है उनका? Yes, to work for the people and to develop a just society. Just means which brings justice to everyone, which brings prosperity to everyone. है कि नहीं है? भाई पहले clear तो होना चाहिए कि what should be achieved through the constitution. वो aim तो हमें पता होना चाहिए. So initially this Constituent Assembly gave this job to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, that you draw the aims which should be the aims of the government of free India. Okay, and he wrote that these will be the aims of free India government. It should be secular, it should be socialist, sovereign, republic. Okay, fundamental rights should be respected, and these will be the fundamental rights. Okay, so what I mean to say is that Pandit Nehru drew certain aims and objectives of the free India, so that on these aims and objectives, keeping these aims and objective in mind, we can draw the articles or the details of the constitution. Unless we have a vision, how can we draw the detailed constitution? That vision was actually drawn initially by Pandit Nehru. What was the name given to this vision? Preamble. Objective resolution. Pandit Nehru drew a objective resolution, means he wrote that these should be the aims of free Indian government. Fundamental rights of everyone should be respected. It should be a what country? Sovereign, democratic, republic country. Right or wrong? ये सारी बातें, all these things were kept in mind when constitution was made, and this paper formed by Pandit Nehru was called as objective resolution. This is very, very important. What is the difference between objective resolution and preamble? Anyone? Somebody from that line can also answer, no? Preamble is based on objectives, and these are objectives themselves. Yes, this can also be true. Any other difference between objective resolution and preamble? For the people who do not know what is preamble, do not worry. I'll discuss that in the third class. Tab tak liye, for the people who know, what is the difference between objective resolution? Very good. It was a basic framework on which constitution was. By skeleton hota hai na? On skeleton we put muscles, we fill blood. So objective resolution was the basic skeleton on which the whole constitution was built. However, preamble is what? Preamble is summary hai. You know the difference between preview and review? Ye वैसे. Objective resolution came before constitution was made, and preamble came when constitution was made. Remember this, preamble was not made before constitution. It was written when constitution was written. Okay, write down. Objective resolution. The philosophy underlying the Indian constitution, was represented in objective resolution. Keep reading every word. Which was moved in. When was objective resolution presented by, moved by Pandit Nehru? Sir? 13 December 1946. First meeting कब हुई थी Constituent Assembly की? First meeting Constituent Assembly 9 December 1946. First session 13 December 1946. Difference है दोनों में, meeting और session. Session means now you have started working. Meeting means you have come to have some preliminary or the groundwork done. पहले president तो choose करोगे. Okay. He moved the objective resolution in the first session. That was on 13th December 1946. 13 December से काम शुरू हो गया. From 13th December the work on constitution making started with the passage of objective resolution. See, they might ask you what is the difference in between preamble and objective resolution in prelims as well as in mains. Remember this. This is the kind of understanding you require to answer in this examination. Okay, do not just mug up that these many people were there in the Constituent Assembly this date. They are also required, but this is also required. Okay, by Pandit Nehru and got adopted ऑब्जेक्टिव रेजोल्यूशन का अडॉप्ट कब किया था? बहुत बढ़िया. And got adopted. Who adopted this objective resolution? Constituent Assembly. Adopted means passed 22nd January 1947. The main points लिख लो. The main points of objective resolution. Main points. India is to be a democratic sovereign republic spelling of sovereign, democratic sovereign republic. Next, to have a federal form of government. I'll explain what is federal. To have a federal FEDERAL, to have a federal form of government, to provide freedom of what? Very good. Freedom of thought. Thought means thinking. Thought, expression, belief, faith. Worship. Vocation. Vocation means job. Vacation nahi hai, vocation. Okay. Vocation. Don't you find these things in fundamental rights? Why fundamental rights are based on these things only or not? You have freedom of speech and expression, vocation. Vocation which article? 19(1)(g. बहुत बढ़िया sir. To provide adequate safeguard. Next point. To provide adequate safeguard to people from minority, backward and tribal areas. And the last, to attain rightful and honored place, to attain rightful and honored place in the world, contributing for the world peace, contributing for the world peace and welfare of mankind. Do we contribute to the world peace? World peace में contribute करते हैं हम लोग. Example, peacekeeping force. What else? Give me proof that we contributed to the world peace and we stuck by the objective of objective resolution. Non-aligned movement. Yeah, excellent example. NAM. Non-aligned movement. You know what is NAM? Non-aligned movement means we will not align or will not have closeness with either America or Russia. We will be free. Because if we get aligned with any of these powers, we might actually add petrol to already sparking deadly situation which was emerging between these two countries. So sir, we can always. No, we can be sovereign even if we align with them, but then because this is our decision. We wanted to be close to Russia, and this decision was not to please Russia, but to take out the best from Russia. We wanted to come close to America so that our own national interest can be served. Foreign policy is not driven by these things. It is driven by the fact that what best we can drive from which country. It's not that we can write that we are friend of Russia or we are friend of America. Foreign policy is actually, the bitter fact is that it has an element of opportunism. जिससे फायदा मिला उससे. But then yes, India is amongst the very few countries which has some ideological concerns also. We do not align with the countries which are actually a problem for the world peace themselves. तभी तो we are still maintaining the principle of नाम. Otherwise we could have actually aligned with America. आज तक नाम को हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं. Okay. Types of constitution. Types of constitution. I'll keep discussing these types in the subsequent classes. Sir, what can be the first ground of comparison among the constitutions? What can be the categories of constitution? Or if I have to categorize the constitutions, what can be the ground? कोई भी example. Very good. Written or unwritten constitution. First we take this only, okay? Make this. Sir, what is the meaning of written constitution and what is unwritten? Batana jara. First point. Whatever you know, come up with the answer. Do not worry that you have to give the right answer only. Written is something which is written, and unwritten is something which is. But then it is not written in black and white. यही है. What is the meaning of? Acha, written to is clear. What is the meaning of unwritten constitution? Sir, whatever the government says becomes a true to some extent. Excellent. Meaning of, do not write, just focus here. Meaning of written constitution is that when you have a single book in which all the provisions are codified means written in one place, then you are having a written constitution. If you have one book where you have all the provisions of constitution codified or written, it means you are having a written constitution. By how many constitutions we have in India? एक ही है ना. For example, if something is brought to you and I tell you that this is the Constitution of India, how many books will be? One only. Now this book, single book, has all the provisions of Indian Constitution. And even Sri Lanka, written constitution, they will have only one book in which all the provisions of the constitution will be there. Gaddafi green book, एक ही book है ना वो. Written constitution is a constitution where all the provisions of the constitution are written or codified. Codified means written at one place only. And what about unwritten constitution? ये तो एक single book है. Unwritten constitution. Group of documents. And he was correct when he said whatever law is made by the law making body becomes a part of constitution. देखो, in written constitution we have a single book which is called as constitution. Using the power of this constitution, parliament, who will make the law? Parliament. Using the power under this constitution, parliament will make number of laws. भाई शुरू में अंडे दिखाए थे ना मैंने आपको. Motor Vehicle Act, Hindu Marriage Act, Special Marriage Act, Citizenship Act, Representation of People Act. Now these were made because Constitution told Parliament to make such laws. They were laws. Statutes जिनको हम बोलते हैं, right? Means there is a difference between ordinary law and a law mentioned in the Constitution. Law are two types here. Ordinary law, for example, Motor Vehicle Act is an ordinary law made by the Parliament. ये सारे हैं ordinary law. Some laws are mentioned in the constitution itself. They will be called as act. तो ये भी है यार. Any law is an act. Food Security Act है कि नहीं है? Food Security Act is an act and that is a law. But is it mentioned in the constitution? No. तो example, Food Security Act. It's an ordinary law made by the parliament. It is not mentioned in the constitution. Written constitution, there is a distinction between the constitution laws and other laws made by the parliament. Am I clear on this? There is a distinction between ordinary law and constitutional law. कहाँ पे? Written constitution में. Take the case of unwritten constitution. Give me one country, sir, where unwritten constitution is there. UK, United Kingdom. यहाँ unwritten है. He said correctly. Every law which will be made by the British Parliament will be part of Constitution. And there is no distinction that this is part of Constitution, this is not part of the Constitution, because they do not have a single book which can be called as Constitution. इन्होंने एक law बनाया, British Parliament made a law in 1215 AD, Magna Carta. This is very important because 100 years, okay, 2016 चल रहा है ना. Law was made by the British Parliament in 1215 AD. Then some laws were made in 14th century also. Similarly, laws are being made on regular basis. Even now they are making laws. Law was made in 2016, law was made in 2015, 15, 14. Means all these laws together will form what is called as Constitution of Britain. All these laws taken together will form the Constitution of Britain. But then still, do you have single book there? No. एक book नहीं है. Okay. So these kind of provisions or political system, they are said to be having unwritten constitution. Do they have single book? यहाँ single book है. Is there a difference between a common law and constitutional law? No. सब बराबर. Parliament, whatever law it made, became the part of British Constitution. शहंशाह में डायलॉग था ना, जहां हम खड़े हो जाते हैं लाइन वहां से शुरू होती है. सेम थिंग इज व्हाटएवर पार्लियामेंट सेज बिकम पार्ट ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. इज दिस हियर, एक मिनट यार, इज दिस हियर आल्सो, एडवांटेज अभी डिस्कस करेंगे. इज दिस हियर आल्सो व्हाटएवर लॉ इज मेड बाय द पार्लियामेंट बिकम्स पार्ट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया? बोलो सर, यस और नो? नो. फॉर एग्जांपल, आई जस्ट गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट, it did not get a mention in the constitution because it's an ordinary law. Am I clear on this? Right now, written constitution is one whose articles and provisions are codified. Codified means written. Are codified into a single, double underline this word single. Codified into a single, double underline this word single, legal document. Unwritten provisions of unwritten constitution are not codified into a single legal document. All the laws made by law-making body become part of constitution. Example भी लिख लो. written constitution, India. What else? US, Canada, Sri Lanka. Written or not? Written. Unwritten constitution. Written constitution is an enacted constitution. Next point, written. Written में लिखना सर. is an enacted, spelling ENACTED, enacted constitution. What is the meaning of enacted constitution? By India का जो the Indian constitution is an enacted constitution. What is the meaning of this line, sir? Enact. Sir? It was? It was given not by itself, it was given by a body on a particular date. Today we enact the constitution. Means we had a specific time and date on when the constitution got enacted. पता है ना आपको? There was a fixed time. Whereas this was not the case in the case of unwritten constitution. When did the British constitution come into being? Nobody knows. Queen को भी नहीं पता when did the constitution of Britain came into being. Am I right or wrong? Because see, all the laws which were prevalent in the Britain, and as she said correctly, even the customs which are not forbidden otherwise by law, they are part of British constitution. जो भी custom चले आ रहे हैं since whatever time, or whatever laws which are still prevalent since whatever time, they are part of British constitution. So we cannot identify at what date did we start British constitution, but we can certainly identify on what date did Indian constitution start or American constitution start. So this is the feature of written constitution. If you have a written constitution, you can identify which was the body which made the constitution and on what date the constitution came into being. Whereas in unwritten constitution, there is no single body which made the constitution, or there is no single date on which the constitution got implemented. Got this difference? Write down. Written constitution is an enacted constitution, that is, it was created by a special body that is the Constituent Assembly of India, and came into being or force on a particular date. एक खास दिन force में आया. What was the date? 26 January 1950. Very good. Whereas unwritten constitution is what? ये क्या था? What was written constitution? Enacted. One body formed it, implemented on one day. इसे क्या बोलेंगे सर? Continuation based, no. What can be the word? Anyone? Evolved. Evolved ka meaning, what is the meaning of getting evolved? Evolved means growing with time, becoming better. Okay, day by day. 1215 law you had, then came a new law, you added to that on the Magna Carta, means you keep on adding the laws as the time progresses. इसे कहते हैं evolved law. Yes, here also we can evolve, but then here we actually do not know from what date we started to get evolved. यहाँ तो हम fix कर सकते हैं ना. Here we can fix that from 26th January or since First Amendment Act we started to evolve. But here we cannot actually identify the exact time when we started to evolve also. So we gave a general name to this type of constitution, evolved. What? No, not all the original laws are rejected. The obsolete laws or the laws which we feel that they are wrong, we remove them from the list. जैसे कि in Indian Constitution, did we ever remove anything from the Constitution? कुछ हटाया हमने? Sometime कौन सा time था वो था? अरे right to property, we pulled it out from fundamental right to legal right. है कि नहीं है? Any other provision also? Jury system, very good. रुस्तम देख के आए हो सर? Very good. Here also, if a law we feel that it is obsolete, we remove it from the list. In fact, when Prime Minister Modi he came to power, his first agenda was this only: all the obsolete laws were to be removed. And let me tell you, even here the obsolete laws are removed. For example, tomorrow you feel that this law, which was made in 1215 AD, is now not to be used. It is bekar. Then you remove it. Evolved constitution does not mean that you have to carry on the baggage of the previous laws. Any law which you feel now is out of date, is not required, you remove it. Changes yahan bhi ho rahe. Getting me? But then here you cannot trace the point when the changes started to take place or when was the first constitution provision written. ये आप यहाँ identify नहीं कर सकते. Here you can. American Constitution enacted or not? On what date? 4th of July. Agreed or not? Unwritten constitution is not an enacted constitution. Read these things today itself. आज ही जाके पढ़ना इनको. Unwritten constitution is not an enacted constitution, but what? Very good class. Evolved constitution. Because it was not created by a single body, but was a joint effort of many over a period of time. For example, please keep reading what you are writing. Mechanically, do not write. For example, the Magna Carta. कांटा नहीं है, काटा. Magna Carta, okay, declaration. The Magna Carta signed by King John in 1215 AD. You know what is the meaning of Magna Carta? ये है क्या चीज Magna Carta? What is Magna Carta? Sir, आप कुछ कह रहे थे ना? Delegated or defined? Defined. Till 1215, the king was omnipotent. Whatever he felt like, he kept on doing. People had no rights. In fact, this king used to trample upon the rights of the people. You had land, king wanted, he took away. You had a bride, he wanted, he took away. This was a common practice. Okay. People were fed up. 1215 AD, the King John, he was forced by people to sign a document which was kind of, as he said, a social contract between the king and the people, his subject, that from now on, these will be my powers. Means he defined his powers. I will not use my powers arbitrarily. These will be my powers. ABC ये मेरी power होंगी. And these will be your rights. I will not encroach upon your rights. I will not use any power beyond this power. Means the power of the king got defined under this great law called as Magna Carta. Magna Carta, great declaration, signed in 1215 AD. Okay. ये आज भी चल रहा है. Because today also Britain has got king and queen. They also can misuse the power. है कि नहीं है? Today also the Queen of England, she is bound by this agreement, Magna Carta, which was signed by King John of 1215, that these will be the powers of the king and queen and these will be the rights of people. The king will not encroach upon the rights of people. Am I clear? 1215 AD is part of UK Constitution. Next. In written constitution, it is the constitution that is supreme. Means whatever will be done according to what? Constitution. Supreme to wo na. And who will be ultimate supreme? Citizen, if that constitution was made by the citizens. Okay. Whereas in unwritten constitution, who is supreme? देखो logic से, tell me with your logic. Need not mug up, need not know actually. in answering this question. In written constitution, who is most powerful agency? Yes, citizens, but then constitution. Unwritten constitution, which will be the most powerful body? Use your logic. Parliament. I gave you example ना, अभी शहंशाह मूवी का डायलॉग नहीं बोला था मैंने? क्या डायलॉग था सर, बोलो जल्दी बताओ. जाम खड़े हो जाते हैं, लाइन वहां से शुरू होती है. Because here in unwritten constitution, whatever law will be made by parliament, whatever parliament will say will become part of constitution. And there is virtually no limitation on the power of parliament. Virtually. Parliament can make any law, parliament can amend any law very easily in unwritten constitution. ठीक है ना? तो सुप्रीम कौन हुआ? In unwritten constitution, parliament is supreme. Next. What is the status of judiciary in written constitution? Will it be strong or not? You tell me. Judiciary, without any fear. Judiciary will be strong or not? Strong. Remember this thing. In written constitution, judiciary is generally strong. I am using this word generally with an intention because it is not always the case. Sri Lanka has a written constitution, but judiciary there is not very strong. But generally, if you have a written constitution, you have a book which is called as constitution, where all the laws are codified at one place. Judiciary is bound to become strong. What is the reason? Yes. By somebody, एक आपने बोला that see, you said that this is the mother law of this country. No law is as bigger as this constitution. Then there is a body which can only interpret the constitution. That body is what? The judiciary. Judiciary only can read and interpret this mother law, the supreme law. Will not judiciary become powerful now? अरे एक मंदिर है. There is this temple. Again drawing. There is this temple, though it appears to be like a hut, but then imagine a temple. There is a temple and this is the most sacred temple in this country. इससे बड़ा temple नहीं है. And you are a guard here in front of the temple. Will you not become also powerful? Same is with judiciary. This temple is constitution. And the guard which ensures that nobody tramples constitution or who monitors that nobody is going against the constitution, will he not become stronger? And that guard is nothing but judiciary. यही है. When you have a written constitution, judiciary will automatically become stronger because judiciary only has the power to interpret the constitution. But I am using the word generally because you have some countries where constitution is written but judiciary is not very powerful. Sri Lanka. देखो, judiciary generally has written में लिखना, underwritten you write, judiciary has huge powers or wide powers, not huge powers. Judiciary generally enjoys wide powers. Judiciary generally enjoys wide powers where it can declare an enactment of the parliament. Enactment of the parliament means it can control the other two demons. It can declare an enactment of the parliament as void or unconstitutional, and also action of executive. And also action of executive. Executive caught you. आपको उठा लिया उन्होंने for the violation of IT Act 2000. You went to judiciary. Judiciary took action against the executive. छोड़ो इनको अभी. Okay. Unwritten constitution. Who will be powerful? Judiciary, legislature or executive? Legislature. अभी बताया था parliament. Because they are like शहंशाह. बहुत बढ़िया. In unwritten constitution, Judiciary has limited powers. And legislature is supreme. Yes.
Now, in written constitution, there is separation of powers. Even because of that, judiciary is supreme. No?
Yes.
Whereas in unwritten not be, because you don't have a framework for.
No, even in unwritten constitution, you can have separation of powers. For example, in Britain.
There will be overlapping the powers.
No, they might not actually. For example, in Britain, you have separation of powers, right? Legislature is there, executive is there, and judiciary is there. Okay. Is there not separation of powers? But you have unwritten constitution.
But because legislature is on a more superior position, so won't there be overlapping of powers in case of an unwritten constitution?
Overlapping in what?
Means what the role of judiciary can also be played by the legislature in certain situations.
No, suppose your rights have been violated by her. Okay. Then you will not approach the legislature. You will go only to the judiciary. But here, what is the difference between Indian system and British system is that, for example, your fundamental rights somehow were trampled. You went to the, and in fact till 2000, you could not even go to the Supreme Court for the violation of your fundamental rights because there was nothing called as fundamental right first of all. If your rights are violated, you could not go to the court saying that, see, this law, new law is against my rights. You could not go. But now you can go. And even now, when you can go to judiciary that, sir, my rights have been violated by this new law made by the legislature, then also judiciary cannot force the legislature that you take back this law. Force nahi kar sakta hai. In India, judiciary can force the legislature that you take back the law. For example, Judicial Appointment Commission, NJAC. Hai ki nahi? But their judiciary cannot do so. Judiciary cannot force the legislature in Britain to take back a law. Because judiciary is not omnipotent there. Parliament is omnipotent. Getting me? Unwritten constitution, judiciary has limited powers. It cannot declare a decision of executive as unconstitutional. Sorry, it cannot declare a decision or law of legislature. It cannot declare a law of legislature as unconstitutional and void. In written constitution, if you do not get anything clear here, you are absolutely free to raise questions. Okay, do not go home with doubts. In written, provided you are attentive. Okay. Written constitution, there is a difference between what? Constitutional laws and ordinary laws. In unwritten constitution, is there a difference? No. Every enactment of the British Parliament becomes part of constitution. Okay, write down. In written constitution, distinction is made between constitution and other laws. LAWS. Unwritten constitution, there is no distinction between constitution. Keep reading what you're writing, it will be like a revision for yours. No distinction between constitution and other laws because each and every enactment of the British Parliament becomes part of their constitution. The next point you just write, I'll explain later because I have not discussed this till now. Okay. But फिर भी some people must be knowing, so I ask this question. If I give you a choice, this is regarding federal and unitary. For the people who know a little bit on this can answer. Federal polity means you have two governments, one at center and other at state, and both are powerful in their own respective areas, and both derive their power from the constitution. दो government है और दोनों powerful है. Okay, federal. I'll explain that in detail after some time. Unitary polity means there is only one supreme government working at the center. The state governments are only an implementing arm of the central government. A unitary. Now, if I say that we have a written constitution, it will give rise to a federal polity, unitary polity, or both or none. ये क्वेश्चन आएंगे एग्जाम में. Written constitution will give rise to federal, unitary, both or none. No, what can बोला ना मैंने? Both. Written constitution can give you a system where you have a federal system, you have unitary or both. I'll explain that again in detail. Let me tell you. अभी थोड़ी देर में. But then the typical part is this: unwritten constitution. हाँ जी.
Why not unitary? Because both state
Both का मतलब ही होता है कि unitary also. Means if you wish to have unitary, you can have unitary. If you wish to have federal, you can have federal. If you have written constitution.
But sir, I think it is more unitary because both state and center are following the constitution.
Huh.
So then it is unitary, na?
Unitary. What is the meaning of unitary? Unitary means
Center is superior and center is also following the a single body, na?
Hmm.
A single group. So
yes, you can have a unitary constitution. No problem in that. Unitary polity, no problem in that. But can you not have federal? This is my question to you. बताओ, है ना? तो अभी तो बहुत लिखा हमने. Okay. Now this is the main question. If you have unwritten constitution, मान लो ये ब्रिटेन है. Okay. Imagine you're sitting next to Thames. ये ब्रिटेन है. What polity can you expect here? Federal, unitary, both or none? Why not federal? Why not, or why cannot we have a federal setup with unwritten constitution? बहुत बढ़िया. Just write down for the people who do not know. Just write down. I'll explain after some time. लिखो उसको. A written constitution can give rise to. Write down. Written constitution can give rise to federal or unitary government. Unwritten constitution gives rise to only unitary polity. Now I ask the question: if you have a written constitution, अगर आपके पास है, if you have a written constitution, that will be a rigid constitution. Rigid means it cannot be changed very easily. A rigid constitution is one which cannot be changed very easily. Flexible constitution is one which can be changed easily, जिसको आराम से change कर सकते हैं हम लोग, ठीक है? If you have written constitution, sir, will it be rigid, flexible, both or none? Depends on the provision. Very good. See, if you have a written constitution, it can be made in such a way. वो तो आपके बनाने के ऊपर है ना. भाई, if you design the constitution to be rigid, it will be rigid. If you designed it to be flexible, it will be flexible. तो आपके ऊपर है. It depends on the constitution makers whether they wanted to make the constitution rigid or flexible. Give me one example of the written constitution which is rigid. USA. It's a written constitution or rigid है? What is the meaning of rigid constitution, sir? Rigid means a constitution which cannot be amended easily. There are certain provisions which are to be followed, and those provisions are also very difficult to achieve. Okay. Flexible. Give me one example of a written constitution which is flexible. बहुत. अभी तो इंडिया का मैंने नाम ही नहीं लिया. Flexible, na? Sri Lanka. The president wants to change the constitution, he can easily. Okay. Sri Lanka has a written constitution, flexible. Indian constitution, rigid or flexible? Both. इसी को डिस्कस कर रहे थे. Let's discuss this. Write down this. इसको लिख लो आप पहले. Written constitution can be rigid or flexible. कुछ भी हो सकता है. A written constitution can be rigid or flexible. Unwritten constitution is flexible or rigid? Rigid or flexible? Flexible. What is the reason? क्योंकि वो unwritten इसलिए flexible है. Yes, this is the reason. Because in unwritten constitution, Parliament has the upper hand. Whatever it wants, it can do. Means we are clearly saying that Parliament can anytime make a law, change a law. Means Parliament can change the law at any point of time at its will. And the procedures are also very simple. Unwritten constitution are flexible always. Write down. Flexible means they can be easily changed. यहाँ तो कोई रोकने वाला नहीं है ना. In देखो क्या है. For example, in Britain, there is no body which will stop the Parliament from making a law, not even judiciary. So Parliament can easily change the law, make a new law. Means the constitution of Britain is flexible. Write down. But चल कैसे रहा है पता है आपको? Imagine the same situation here in India. How is Britain surviving and thriving even with unwritten constitution? Imagine you tell the parliamentarians, not the parliament. Imagine you tell the parliamentarians, many of them, that sir, you make any law, nobody will question you, nobody will stop you. Can you imagine a situation? सबसे पहले law क्या आएगा? What will be the first law? Salaries बढ़ेंगी पहले तो. But then this was only in lighter sense. In Britain, Britain is surviving even with such a flexible system in place. They have given all the powers to Parliament and still Parliament is not misusing it. Reason? Very good. Public opinion. In Britain, people are so much educated, aware that they will, today you make the wrong laws, next time they will remove you from power. है कि नहीं? Public opinion is very strong. Here in India, is public opinion as strong as in Britain? No. You do not do anything for people for 5 years, for 4.5 years. The remaining 6 months, क्या देना है उनको? TV, fridge, without बिजली sir, without electricity. बिजली you know not? Electricity. They will be happy. Public opinion is driven here by money, caste, region, religion. So they may not be able to stop the parliamentarians from making a faulty law. But then in Britain, the public opinion is very strong and it's also not very much biased also. ठीक है ना? Next. Rigid constitution and flexible. अगला distinction है rigid and flexible. Rigid, flexible. 2 lines. Rigid constitution, flexible constitution. Only 15 minutes remaining. Do not worry. सब घर पहुंचेंगे. Rigid. Contrast. Flexible constitution. हाँ जी, what is rigid constitution? A rigid constitution is the constitution which cannot be changed easily by the government in power, either in center or the state or even both. They have difficult procedures to amend the constitution. Flexible constitution can be easily changed. Indian constitutions are rigid or flexible? Both. Indian constitution is a combination of rigidity and flexibility. There are some provisions in the Indian constitution which can be changed easily. बहुत easily change कर सकते हैं. Any one example? Sir? Constitution की बात करो, not ordinary law. सर 2/3 की भी जरूरत नहीं है. Not even 2/3 is required. Article 3. What is Article 3? I am central government. I am central government, and he is, let's say, Karnataka. Karnataka. I am central government. I want to change the name of Karnataka. Can I do it unilaterally? Yes, I can do this. I want to change their boundary. Can I do it unilaterally? कर दूंगा. And when I am doing so, will I not enter that thing in the constitution also? Means I am making some changes in the constitution. But when I make Karnataka something else, constitution में तो लिखना पड़ेगा ना? Means I am changing the constitution. And I can do that with a simple majority. See, this is a first class, so you may not get few things like what is simple majority, what is special majority. Nothing will be left to doubt. Everything will be cleared, but in subsequent classes. Okay. Right now on the first day, I cannot take the whole polity. सारे concepts तो आज नहीं हो पाएंगे ना. So if you have something that you are not aware of particular term, hold on. I'll explain that in the subsequent class. For example, I use the word simple majority. I'm sure 90% of the people may not be knowing what is simple majority. So don't worry, just hold on. Simple majority means a majority which can be easily achieved. More than 50% people present and voting. उसे simple बोलते हैं, ठीक है ना? Now, if I have to change the area of Bangalore or Karnataka, I can easily do center. Means I have brought a change in the constitution easily, and he cannot stop me from doing that. This was a part of the constitution, Article 3, which I can easily change. But then there are some parts in the constitution which center cannot change easily, even center state together cannot change easily. कौन सा है वो part? बेसिक भी है सर, ये देखो, जैसे कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल प्रेसिडेंट्स इलेक्शन आर्टिकल 50, 54, 55. Okay, these two articles they discuss about the elections of the president. I want to change the way president is elected in this country. एक procedure है. There is a procedure by which president is elected. I want to change it. I mean center. Let me tell you, center cannot change it unilaterally. Center will bring the change. Then that change will be given to the states, and we will ask the state, do you agree? And in that 50% of the states have to agree. Then only I can make a change in this particular area of the constitution. Why elections of the president is mentioned in the constitution or not? I want to change it. I mean center. I cannot do it alone. First of all, even when I have to pass this resolution, that will be passed by a special majority, 2/3, not simple majority. And after that, I have passed it. I will give it to the states. Every state, do you agree with this change? And when 50% of the states say yes, we agree, then only this change will be brought. Otherwise, not. Is it easy? 50% chodo. Even if I ask you that please bring 10% states on board, that will be very difficult. So this area to change is very, very difficult in Indian constitution. Whereas this area, changing the name, area, boundary of particular state is very easy. So there are parts in the constitution which can be easily changed. There are parts which cannot be easily changed. Indian constitution is a mix of flexibility and rigidity. Yeah. Is this clear? Any doubts? Right down. In a rigid constitution, amending the constitution is difficult, or making the changes in the constitution, likh lo. Making the changes in the constitution is difficult. Flexible constitution can be changed easily. Indian constitution is a mix of rigidity and flexibility. Mix. That is, few provisions can be changed easily. Like Article 2, Article 3, Article 169. What is Article 169? Abolition or creation of legislative councils. You know legislative council or not? No problem if you do not know. I'll explain that in detail later on. डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, it's only the first class. First class भी है और first class भी है. Okay. How many amendments we have brought, sir, till now? 100. It means Indian constitution is that not that rigid also. By in 69 years, if we have changed the constitution 100 times, is it not a testimony to the fact that Indian constitution is not rigid? But then it is not completely flexible also. ठीक है ना? See, अब आपने आंसर लिखा that you are saying that Indian constitution is flexible. Give this argument also. Do not just write hollow statements. Give some supporting facts, supporting examples, some incidents. Support तो दो अपनी बात को कि ये flexible नहीं है या नहीं है. Okay, write down. In federal polity, sir, federal polity, we should have a rigid constitution or flexible constitution? Usually, लिख लो बस अभी बिना मीनिंग जाने लिखो अभी. In federal polity, usually the constitution is rigid. I'll explain what is federal unitary, so I am saying just write down, I'll explain later. Is usually rigid. However, India following a federal practice is a mix of rigidity and flexibility. Keep reading what you are writing. Do not write mechanically, okay? And the last concept for today, only 10 minutes. Okay? This labor is only for an year, if you do it correctly. Okay? I know it's very difficult for you to sit and be attentive for 3 hours. But then if you do it for 1 year, and that too rigorously, religiously, with purity, being happy, then you will get the results also. The tendency is that generally we start studying with a great enthusiasm, continue it for 1 month or maybe 1 week. After that, we look towards cafe coffee day. Class में आना बंद कर देते हैं, वहाँ जाते हैं. For 1 year, be attentive and you have to push yourself a little bit, because till now we were reading only about, let's say, 2-3 hours a day, and that too during exam. Otherwise, तो वो भी नहीं पढ़ते. But here, you may be required to study for at least 7-8 hours per day for 1 year. Do not overstretch also. Do not make yourself fall ill. बीमार भी नहीं होना है. It should not happen that you are not able to carry on and you are just sitting there and then, I'm talking about at home. Here, though, you have to sit. But then at home, relax, be happy, study according to your limits. If you can study for 1 hour at a stretch, study for 1 hour, then take a break for 15-20 minutes, again come back. Do not think that, oh, he's studying for the last 4 hours, I have to beat him. किसी को देख के नहीं पढ़ना है. You never know what he's reading. यहाँ से दिख थोड़ी ना रहा है. So study as per your own pace, but then be sincere, right? Write down. Parliamentary system, presidential system. Parliamentary system, presidential system. I started the class with this concept only. Tell me, what is the basic feature of parliamentary system? इसी से शुरुआत की थी मैं. Sir? Excellent. I gave you this diagram also. हाँ जी बनाए, आपके लिए है ये. ओके. Parliamentary system, this is the design. Executive, which is also the COM, is taken from where? Legislature से ही निकाला. They are first legislators and then they are executive. Write down. parliamentary system, executive is part of legislature. In parliamentary system, likho sir, executive is a part of legislature. Presidential, executive and legislature are clearly separated. Okay, next. What is the other difference? पहले आप मुझे ये बताओ कि who is the head in presidential system? Presidential example. Another example. फ्रांस में presidential है. यार ये थोड़ी ना जहां प्रेसिडेंट है वहां प्रेसिडेंशियल सिस्टम हो जाएगा. दैट वे इंडिया आल्सो हैज प्रेसिडेंशियल. Who is the head of executive in America? President. Legislature, executive, judiciary combined is the state. Okay. Who is the head of the state? President. See the comparison here. Who is the head of the state in India? President. Nominal head तो है भाई, even if theoretically he is the head, but then he is the head. Head of the state is. See, these diagrams will not be found in the books, so better you draw. Later on you will not get them in any book. नेट पे भी नहीं मिलेगा. And who is the head of the executive here in India? Executive means government. Okay. Don't you see it is also a difference? In presidential system, who is the head of the state? President. Here also same. Here same hai. But in presidential, who is the head of the government? President. Here, who is the head of the government? Prime Minister. This is the difference. Here, all the executive powers are with whom? Executive means to bring into effect, to implement. Who is the actual powerful person there? President. Here, who is the actual powerful person? ये भी एक difference है. Right or wrong? Here, the ministers. Ministers means executive. All the ministers together form the executive. Here the ministers, are they part of parliament, sir? Yes. Yes. Here the ministers, are they part of legislature? No. President is elected and he will select his own team. He will pick you, he will pick you, he will pick you. Even if you are not part of legislature, you might be somebody expert in a different area. She might be a very good doctor, she might be picked up to become the Secretary of Health in America. Secretary means the ministers. No, they are not. They are completely separate from. There is a complete separation of powers in America. Here it is not. ठीक है ना? हाँ सर, ये मैंडेटरी है, वरना पार्लियामेंट्री हो जाएगा ना. राइट डाउन. हाँ, I'll discuss that. Don't worry. Write down. In parliamentary system, the Council of Ministers is represented by the Prime Minister, PM. In parliamentary system, the COM is represented by the PM. COM यार, Council of Ministers. और क्या हो सकता है? Is represented by the PM, who is the true executive in practice. Or the real executive head. President is, इसी में, in the same thing, President is the nominal head of the state. Nominal means for दिखावे के लिए. डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन की. Is the nominal head of the state having very less real executive powers. In parliamentary only, write down Prime Minister is the HOG, head of the government. Prime Minister is the head of the government. Write down in presidential. In Indian context, I wrote president. In UK, it can be or it will be queen or king. ठीक है ना? Monarch. Write down. In presidential system, president is the real executive head. Executive means having all the powers to implement the laws. Real का मतलब जानते हो? If in Britain, for example, I got death penalty in America, and somehow there is a provision that president can pardon me, then I will write a letter to the president, and president himself will pardon me. In India, will the president himself pardon me? No. I will write the application to the president, but then president will take decision according to the wishes of Home Ministry. Means president is taking decision, but actually the decision is taken by the government. But here in America, president himself will take the decision. Getting me? Therefore, he is having the real powers with him. Okay, next. President is the real executive head of the state. Presidential only. He is the real executive head of the state, and also he is head of the government or government. Next. Parliamentary. In parliamentary, write down ministers are from. In parliamentary, you write down ministers are from parliament only or legislature only. One and the same thing. Or if not, वैसे तो parliament से होने चाहिए. They should be from parliament. But then if they are not member of parliament, you were not MP today, okay, but I had full faith in your abilities. I am the prime minister. I made you minister of, let's say, home बना दिया आपको सीधा. Home minister. I made you home minister. You are not an MP right now. So what I'll do, either I'll make you contest a by-election जहाँ पे elections होने वाले हैं. You win that election, you come into Lok Sabha, or I'll get you somehow enter the parliament through Rajya Sabha. Okay. Means you are not minister, she was not MP when I made her minister, but within 6 months, somehow she got entry into Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Minister Banni. If she does not get an entry into Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, she cannot continue with her post as a minister. That is not a case with presidential. You need not be a member of legislature, to be the minister, presidential. Okay, right now. Parliamentary में लिखो, the ministers are from parliament only, and if not, they have to get the membership within 6 months. Presidential, ministers are not the member of legislature. And president chooses his team of ministers. His team of ministers from citizens at large. Next. This is Council of Minister. Quick. Council of Minister is responsible to whom? Lok Sabha. Not the Parliament. Lok Sabha. भाई आप ये देखो, can Rajya Sabha remove the Council of Minister from power? Rajya Sabha government गिरा सकता है क्या? Can Rajya Sabha defeat the government or remove the government? No. Lok Sabha can. How? For example, no confidence motion, one example, or by not passing the money bill, budget. गई ना government, sir, agreed or not? Means COM, which is also called as executive, which is also called as government in layman's term, can be removed from power by whom? Lok Sabha. Means COM or the government or the executive is accountable, or accountable to whom? Lok Sabha. If you can punish me, if you can question me and punish me also, I am accountable to you. Getting this or not? So here, Council of Ministers is accountable to whom? Lok Sabha. Here, is the president and his team accountable to legislature? जिसे क्या बोलते हैं? What is the name given to the American legislature? Congress. Is the American president and his team of ministers, are they accountable to the Congress? Theoretically yes, but practically no. Because there is one procedure called as impeachment. If the president is not working fine, Congress can impeach the president, हटा तो सकता है, but the process of impeachment is so difficult that is practically not workable. So in that sense, president in America and his team are actually irremovable. उनको हटाना बहुत मुश्किल है. Here they are removable easily. ठीक है ना ये बात? You got this or not? Now in these two cases, where do you find more stability? बताओ सर, stability कहाँ दिख रही है? Presidential. Because here the government or the executive cannot be removed from power easily by the legislature. बहुत मुश्किल है impeachment. Okay, here they can. Means stability is low in parliamentary system and stability is high in presidential. In which system accountability will be more? Parliamentary. Because if the government does not follow the wishes of the parliament, parliament will remove the government from power. Accountable है यहाँ पे. Here accountability will be less. Even if the president is not working as per the expectation of legislature may be not in the position to remove him, or if he is to be removed, very difficult process. Okay, understood, sir? Write down. Second last line, bas. The Council of Parliamentary, the parliamentary system, the Council of Minister. Write down in the parliamentary system part. Council of Minister is responsible to the lower house or the popular house. Popular house is the right word. Responsible or accountable to the popular house, that is Lok Sabha. Presidential system. The president and his ministers are actually not responsible to legislature. Because the impeachment process is very difficult. It means, write with understanding, it means presidential system provides more stability even if less accountability. And parliamentary system provides more accountability even if less stability. Understood, sir? Follow. In the what is the logic of having president? We'll discuss that when we come to president. Okay, because see, there are some powers given to the Indian president. It's not that he's always a rubber stamp. अब एक देखो, for example, we had an election, nobody got a majority, किसी को majority तो मिली नहीं. These are the two, for example, these two rows, they are parties, and this party got most of the seats, but still they are not in majority, and they failed to form a coalition also. coalition से भी majority नहीं बना पा रहे. Now in that case, I'll come to picture and I'll ask them, because I know, or I may not even ask them, I ask them that you please come and you try to make a government, because I know, I have a sense that they can form an alliance, they cannot, even if they have got little bit more votes than them. समझ रहे हो? In crisis or emergency, he will open his tools.